Hello and welcome to Talk Motivation with your host Elvis Eckhart, former pro athlete turned business owner, motivating you to achieve personal growth, form new habits, and find happiness in your career and life. Without further ado, let's jump right into today's episode.
Welcome to a new episode of Talk Motivation. I'm your host, Elvis Eckhart. Today we'll tackle the topic of resilience and the 5 principles of how to move through difficult times. I have a very special guest who joins me on today's episode. His name is Danny Bader. Danny is not just a best-selling author, he's a life coach, motivational speaker, and he's a fellow podcast host. He also has a remarkable life story. I don't want to say too much up front, but we are in for a treat today, trust me. I've spoken to him a couple of weeks back to organize the podcast, and let me say this, his passion and energy, they are contagious. Let's say hello to our guest, Danny Bader. Danny, how are you today, and in which part of the world do you call home?
Hi, Elvis. Well, good morning. I am coming to you all from just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the United States. So it's just 9 o'clock in the morning here, and I know it's a bit later for you, but thank you for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate it. And you've got a pretty infectious energy yourself.
I try my best, but not as infectious as you, I can tell you.
Well, I don't know. You're no trying, right? We just do it. Sometimes we do better, sometimes we don't, but take trying out of there. Take trying out.
Brilliant. Danny, you wrote a book called Back to Life. It's based on your real life story and your real life experience. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the book and about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I wrote this book, Back to Life, The Path of Resilience, and it's a fictionalized story of a real life event that took place for me. And actually it was 28 years ago yesterday. So it was kind of, I was kind of thinking about it. It happened on July 28th, 1992. I was 28 years of age when it happened. And then yesterday was 28 years since it. So all these 28s shown up. It was kind of interesting. But the short story is a friend and I were we were working at a construction site, and we were lowering a metal ladder. And we saw some electric lines that we thought we'd be clear of. And tragically, we were not. And we hit that electric line just by about a half inch or a quarter of an inch was the burn mark. And about 8,000 to 10,000 volts of electricity came down and entered both of our bodies, and it killed both of us. My buddy died that day. I died that day. I was probably dead for about 8 minutes, according to a witness there that was on the scene helping me with some CPR. So I came back to life, thus the title, but, tragically we lost my friend that day, Bruce, who was just a wonderful man, husband, father, just a great guy. So the book is, it's a story about a young man named Jake, and Jake's story is really based on my events. I tried to write the book first, Elvis, and I know you and I have talked about this, and anybody else that's out there writing, I tried to write it just as my story in first person.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of blocks. I had a tough time writing a story about, where my friend died. And so I was talking to a woman, a writing coach down in Tennessee years ago. And she said, what if you just weave your story and your principles in through a story, make up people? And I said, well, it won't all be true then. And she said, that's okay. It's not as if you're lying to them. You just say, here's the facts, here's the truth, of the story. So yeah, I like the book, and fortunately I get great feedback on it, and it helps people because whether people have had an electrical accident, whether they've died and come back to life, that really doesn't matter. What matters is we all have challenges, we all have struggles in life, and there are a set of principles that I believe, I call them jackrabbit in the book, that help us and move us through, these difficult times.
It is a story and a half, and when I first read it, or when I first as well read parts of it on Amazon, I just thought it's crazy to. I'm really, really grateful that you're here today with me and not 6'3" beyond the ground.
Yes, me
one
too.
One question which pops straight into my mind is, after the accident, how did you cope with the mental side of things? I can imagine it was quite a lot to take in, waking up in a hospital bed.
Sure.
The doctors or your family telling that your best friend, who had his own family, passed away. How did you cope with it?
Yeah, so I didn't cope well with it initially. I went to one hospital, and then it was there they let me know that my friend passed away, and then they took me to another hospital because I had some burns on my feet where the exit wounds were, and my heart was still a little unstable. So I was in the hospital for 10 days. So I went through a whole lot of, mental anguish, stress, anxiety, all those things. And then when I got out of the hospital, it's like, all right, now you have to figure out how to get your life back together.
Yeah.
And I didn't really do it too well. I had a lot of people around. I'm from a big family. I have 6 brothers and a sister. My mom and dad were alive and are still alive now. My girlfriend then, who was my wife now, I had a tremendous amount of people, a lot of best friends, and I just wouldn't let them in.
Yeah.
My approach kind of was just try to put on a reasonably happy face like I was moving forward, but a lot of bad thoughts up in my head, a lot of demons, and drinking way too much alcohol, just trying to numb out. So I really didn't handle it all that well in hindsight, and that's kind of the story. And then you see where Jake starts to turn the corner a little bit and says, okay, I need to think differently about this tragedy right now, and think differently about the rest of my life.
One thing which you mentioned a lot, and I can remember you mentioning it as well in our pre-call a couple of weeks back, is that you say that one of the things, or it's a big difference between just living and being alive.
Right.
What do you mean by that? Maybe could you explain that to our listeners?
Sure. Yeah. I always say there's a hell of a difference between just living, right, and being fully alive. So those words for me, the way that I look at it, living is we're kind of just going through the motions. We're not fulfilled in all those areas of our life, the key areas of health and relationships and spirituality and finances and career and those things. And you're just kind of accepting some things. You're accepting a less than wonderful state of those things. Yeah. Being alive, on the other hand, is really saying, okay, here's what my life looks like. Here's those key areas. And I am engaged every day with tremendous passion to move those areas to a higher level, whatever that is. Yeah. I see too many people have kind of, it's like life's winning, it's kind of beating them down. Yeah. And, that just gets to me, because that's how I was after the accident. I mean, I really, I was getting to the point where I really didn't give a shit about a lot of things in life. So I was just living, I was just kind of going through that motion. I didn't have that energy, that passion, that desire to help other people and support other people, or even help myself at that point.
Yeah. You've mentioned before JCKRBBT. I know you as a life coach and consultant. Your company is now called as well JCKRBBT. What is JCKRBBT, and why should it matter to us, or why does it matter to us?
Yeah. JCKRBBT is, let me just grab, I'll have to send one of these over to the UK too. So JCKRBBT, we got some t-shirts. I'll have to get your address. JCKRBBT is a model that I put together when I was finishing up a coaching school back around 2006, 2007. So I had not written the book yet. And at the end of the coaching program, they said, okay, you have a project you need to do. One of the options was put together a model of principles. So, Stephen Covey's very famous for 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There's a lot of people that have sales models and things. So for me in JCKRBBT, I just put together a simple model of 5 principles in this circular. And if folks take a look at the book, they'll see that. So they're the ones that are Jake is exposed to. So it's, and these are the principles that helped me that helped me come back from that difficult time. And their first one is to develop vision. So always have it when you're going through a difficult time. You have to deal with the facts, right? That you're going through a difficult time. It's not as if you make up that this is not bad. Sometimes things are bad, but it's very helpful to see the other side. So let's say, okay, in 6 months from now, this is how my life's going to be. In 1 year from now, this is how it's going to be. And that's what really helped me. So it's to develop vision, and then it's to be still. So stillness is very important for me in terms of meditation, in terms of prayer, in terms of journaling. I have my journal with me almost every day. I take it with me everywhere. Sometimes I write a paragraph. Yeah, right on, brother. Just to clear my head a little bit, So to be still, and then the next is to seek support, which was a big one for me. I was not asking for enough help when I was going through a difficult time. And also to be support. Yeah. You know what I mean? Really seek support and to be support for other people. And then the fourth one is to know thyself, which is famous from Socrates, right? So it's the ability for us to practice that principle of always kind of holding up the mirror and looking at ourselves and saying, okay, who am I? What's my self-image? What are the values that I have? What's my purpose? What's all that chatter that's running in my head, all of my self-talk? And then the fifth principle is just to evolve, to undergo continuous and gradual change and growth, and have that learner's mindset and know that life is a journey with its ups and with its downs. And it's, it's a beautiful journey. So we call it Jackrabbit. I'll tell you, we call it Jackrabbit because when I wanted to start my coaching business and speaking business, I thought, okay, I need a name, I need a logo, all that kind of stuff. And I thought to myself, I wonder what animals, because vision is so important for me. Yeah. Vision essentially saved my life. It was pretty powerful. The jackrabbit, when I Googled the jackrabbit of all the animals in the animal kingdom, the jackrabbit has really good vision because its eyes are on the side of its head and kind of high up. Yeah. So it essentially can see its whole environment, which I think is so important for us as people. I love that. We don't get, uber focused on career. And then we look over here and we have some relationships that are not real good, or we have some health issues. So yeah, that's the background for Jackrabbit. Absolutely love it. I think know thyself. It was actually written on the Parthenon and all the Greek, all on the Greek foundations. It was written all over the place. They still find it today, I think, when they dig stuff out there. That's brilliant. After the accident, when did you feel that you want to give back to the world? When were you ready to give back to the world? Yeah, after the accident, I went through a pretty dark time, and I was very close to taking my own life. And I was down in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and I had a phone call with my mother. And she said, "When are you coming home?" And I was pretty distraught. And I walked out of the phone booth, and I said, "I wonder what it's going to be like when I get better." And that was that little voice, and that was vision, right? That was the first time since July that I really started to say, okay, I can move through this. What's it going to be like when I get on the other side? This is always going to be a part of my life, but I can move through it. So I did that, and then I took a couple of different jobs, and it was probably around, I always wanted to help people. I always felt compassion, I felt empathy, and I always wanted to help people. But I'd say it was probably around 1998 or so. Yeah. I was working at a large organization here in the United States, and I had the opportunity to get into their learning and development. So I started to lead some workshops for people. And I thought, I like this. And then as I started to write more and put my thoughts down, and people would go, I liked reading that. That really helped me. Then I knew that I was on my path of service. Nice one. You've mentioned vision twice now in the conversation we have. The first time was when you introduced us to Jackrabbit, and secondly, you said that you just mentioned it like a couple of minutes back. Why would you say vision? Would you say vision is the core to your message, or is this the heart of the message? Yeah, it is for me. I think there's a lot of power when we imagine in our brain. We imagine and get a visual image of something that we want to create for ourselves. Whether you have an image for your brand and your podcast, and you're growing it, and you're doing wonderfully. Yeah. Other people might have a vision for physically, to see themselves 10, 15, 20 pounds lighter. For me, it really engages my mind, and it gets me inspired, and it gives me more focus to say, okay, this is what we need to create for ourselves. And I'm doing that just like you now, because with this COVID-19, this virus has changed business a lot for speakers. Yeah. So I'm really working on a vision of, I'm not going to be out there 100 days a year speaking in front of live people. So what does Danny Bader look like now in terms of business, You kind of have to find a way to pivot your business, don't you? I had the same. When I first started out with my recruitment and HR business,
there was only stuffing, really temporary and permanent stuffing solutions. And I evolved with the clients really over the past 1.5 years. And you've done one good project and they ask you, can you do that? So like, I can't really do it yet, but my company is so small and flexible, I can have a look into it and give me 2 months time, I'll do it for you. And that's how I grew through COVID as well. I mentioned before we started that my business hasn't grown, but it has been steady over the past 3 months. So I haven't lost any business. And that's good enough for me. My long-term vision is obviously to grow it much, much bigger, but that's fine for me. And my mindset is, I have a growth mindset any day of the year. If I get to a goal, if I reach a goal, I set myself another goal. I'm not like on top of the mountain, jumping up and say, I did it. I want to climb a higher mountain. And
yeah, that's great.
How I grew. For me, a lot of things, my whole life turns around empathy, about resilience, perseverance. These are the things I'm truly motivated about. And that's what we are talking about today as well. It's resilience. What is the path of resilience, and why do you think it matters so much?
Yeah, that's a great question. The path of resilience is just that. I think it's a path that we travel along. Resilience is not, for me, not the place that we get to, right? That's the vision. Resilience is the doing. What are we doing every day? How are we thinking every day to move through difficult times? And the principles of resilience, I believe, they're similar to Jackrabbit in some sense. But the principles of resilience, I believe, are things that we should be applying in our life every day, right? Whether in good times or in difficult times. And I just put together a quick little model and said, okay, before moving through those difficult times, what do we need? Well, the first one is to surrender to the difficult times. Don't fight those things that you cannot control. You're putting all your energy on fighting it versus putting your energy on creating what you want to move through. So for a lot of people, surrender may be a sign of weakness. You know, as you grow up and you think about surrendering, it's I'm finished, I surrender. But in these difficult times, you know, you really have to surrender to those forces that are bigger than us. And then the second one is to take care of yourself, just the basic self-care. Yeah. Sometimes people lose sight of that. So it's the sleep, it's nutrition, it's exercise, it's meditation, it's journaling. Take care of your physical and your emotional body during these difficult times. You got enough stress coming at you, so you need to kind of fight it off. And then the third one is around vision. So it would be see the other side as you move through the difficult time. The fourth one would be to seek support. Make sure that you're asking for help. Make sure that you're, as you said, and you and I have talked about, that growth mindset, you know, that book that we read by Carol Dweck. You need support, not just from people, but what podcasts are you listening to? What books are you reading? Yeah. What TED Talks are you watching? You got to continually, you know, put some good information in there for yourself to keep yourself inspired and motivated. And then the last one is to sail, S-A-I-L. And for me, I talk about that. That's just all the actions. Yeah. Now, what can I do, right? Because nothing really happens without action. And Oliver Wendell Holmes, he said a great quote. That's why I use sail. He said, to reach a destination or a port, we must sail, sometimes with the wind and sometimes against it. Yeah. But we must not drift or lie at anchor. So it's all that notion of, you know, what can I do today to move me forward? Really important.
I love that. Absolutely love that. I did a post yesterday on LinkedIn, which turned quite a couple of heads and did very well. And I basically introduced people to 3 things they could do on a daily basis to get some input and actually make themselves smile and get happy. The first one was reading. Basically, reading is really, really good for the soul. Even in old Egypt and old Greece, outside the libraries, it said come in and enjoy, or it's food for the soul, kind of. And reading is so important, I think. It gives you input. It gives you empathy, especially if you really like novels. You can empathize better with people. If they say something, you can understand them on a much deeper level. So reading was the first one. The second one was, you know, we both journal, but it's not a normal journal. It's a smile journal. You can create yourself a smile journal where you write down in the morning when you go out and you're on a train and somebody says something nice to it, write it in your smile journey. If your mom calls you and says you're a wonderful person, write it in your smile journey. And at the end of the day, you probably have 5 to 10 things which you're really, really happy about, which made you smile, and read it and go to bed.
Yeah.
That'll be like another great way. And the third one is build a fellowship of humans you can relate to and you can grow with, you can empathize with, and just like do something together you really enjoy. Go golf, go play golf with them, go to the pub, have a couple of beers and watch football. Or I have 2 people, one is Rachel Beck and one is Michael Ray. They're wonderful people. They are from the States as well. And we jump on a Zoom call every 2 to 3 weeks and just like empower each other and speak to each other in a nice way and show each other gratitude. And that's my fellowship of the rings, or whatever you want to call it. And
I love it.
I find it so important that you always have some kind of positive input, because the positivity will show in every other situation. And that's really like I would like to live my life, or how I live my life. And it's similar to what you just said, so I absolutely love it. Coming back to the resilience the points of resilience you just mentioned, when you had your near-death experience, what exactly did it teach you about resilience? Did it teach you anything?
Oh yeah. I think the lesson that came out of it is, the lessons for me that came out of it are a couple things. We're going to have tragedies in life. You don't want to walk around expecting them. And I did a little Facebook Live yesterday about some insights from tragedy. But for me, is that tragedy is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Because accidents happen, there's evil in the world, and people get sick. So with kind of that awareness, because up until that accident, my life was pretty easy. I didn't have really a lot of challenges. So it just kind of taught me that they're going to come. You don't want to walk around expecting them. Oh gosh, today's going to be crappy. But just know that when they come, we're much stronger than we give ourselves credit for. We're much stronger. So it certainly taught me that. It taught me the importance of having good people around you, and the ability, and everybody listening out there right now, please hear this. If you're struggling with something, the ability for you to go to somebody and say, I feel shitty. I'm struggling right now. And just be vulnerable. It's okay. Everybody goes through this. It's our brain gets broken sometimes. It's almost like if we're playing football and we break our bone here, you have to do something for it to heal. It's the same way when our brain gets broken and we're thinking about our world in not such a good way. And then the final thing that I learned about from the accident really is that, and I believed this all the time, I know it, but God, for me, as I call God, is real. There's no question. When my body stopped and I was engaged still with the world, I was yelling at another guy coming down the ladder. And then later he told me that I didn't say anything. So it was as if my spirit, whatever, was leaving my body and it was straddling the natural world and then beyond us. But my soul, my spirit, my essence, whatever you may call that, if you believe in something bigger and you believe in a divine energy that's inside of all of us, that left. It left my body and it was joined with its source. And it was the hardest part of the book to write, Elvis, because I'm trying to use English words, right? Our language to describe something that didn't take place in the world in which these words were created. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Nobody's created words for that experience.
Yeah.
So I try, light, loving, joy, peaceful, and they do it a little bit of justice, but a whole lot more went on.
Yeah, I don't totally understand it because I haven't been in the situation, but I know what you mean. When you were in that twilight between, say, life and death, how did that divine force feel? Was it peace? Was it really loud? Was it noisy? What?
Yeah, it was all of that. And I think the best way to describe it is love.
Yeah.
So when you and everybody out there, when you have loved somebody and you're in that state of love and admiration and closeness with them, we feel so good. And when we're being loved. So for me, it all comes down to love. And we've got t-shirts. One says LWL coming out soon, lead with love.
I love
We've
that.
got some that say it all begins with vision. Don't let dumb shit matter.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of Jackrabbit slogans, right? We just put the letters on there, and then something to remind yourself. And for me, every day, just go out and really work to lead with love. Some days a little more difficult than others. And
I
with some
hear
people.
you. I hear you.
Yeah, right. But you know what it is? When I had that experience and I was communicating with God, it's the easiest way for me to say it, not in words, but my spiritual essence was communicating, and I had a choice to stay or go.
Yeah.
And I said, not with words, but I expressed love for my mom and my girlfriend, who's my wife now. It's kind of like I said, what about them?
Yeah.
If I die, if I stay dead, this is going to crush them. And it was it was right then that I was back in my body. So for me, it's like, wow, I expressed love.
Yeah.
And I'm back. So I think that's our greatest energy, to love. And the world certainly needs it now, man.
Yeah, I totally.
So I encourage everybody out there, just love a little bit more, right? I mean, there's times you have to protect yourself. I get that. The world has some evil people out there.
Yeah.
But in many cases, we can show and exhibit love to others. Maybe that we don't even know. And understanding.
Remind me after our podcast, I will link you to Michael Ray, I mentioned before. He leads he leads from a place of love, and he has a non-verbal daughter, and he lives in Louisville, and he just goes around the neighborhood giving people balloons and just like going there saying thank you for just being the person they are. And he's just absolute wonderful human being who leads from a place of love, and I think you two would get along just as nice.
That's wonderful. Yeah, make sure you link me to him, and when you do, send your address as well over there.
Yeah, well, you need to send me your address as well, because my wife just opened up an e-commerce store, and it's called Empathy Art Project 2020, and we'll send you a t-shirt as well that way.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and I'd love to promote her business on social media. Let people look at it. It's great. Doing good work.
Definitely. Coming back to our conversation before and linking it to leadership as such, what would you say is at the moment the greatest or one of the greater responsibilities a leader has in today's world, especially like with COVID hitting up?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I think the leaders in the world, leadership everywhere comes down to just some basic principles. It's really loving and respecting the people that you lead, understanding the importance of giving them a really clear vision that you're all moving towards. And I think really as a leader is just understanding, understanding out in the world, and really caring about the people, because they're the ones that are going to produce the results, right? I see too many leaders that are focused on the results and they're not focused enough on the people. Well, the results will take care of themselves as you get the right people in the right places, love them, care for them, develop them, and sometimes leaders have to, help people find another job because you might not have the right person there. So when I'm talking, lead with love and understanding, I get all this, but there are times when you got to look and go, hey, you know what? I wish you all the best, but you're gone. Yeah. You're not what we need right here. So that you can lead with love, but they have to go find another job if they're not contributing. They have to be accountable.
It's so funny you say that. I did a post the other day, especially about leadership, and I said that a lot of leaders, their problem, it's not a problem, but their leadership level is all around the outcome. But the journey, I think, is way more important, because if you have a great journey, the outcome will come by itself, I believe, because if you have the right people, if you empower your people to do stuff you maybe not be able to do, if you create a team spirit which kind of is so successful that everybody loves to do what they are doing, the journey should be so much fun that the results, they will come by itself. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I agree. So well said. Trust the people and the process by which you're all a team, and everything will probably be okay.
Yeah, definitely. A man who already passed away and been in the twilight, what is a man like that afraid of in life?
What am I afraid of? I'm not really afraid of dying, because it was such a beautiful experience, and I trust that it's going to be a beautiful experience again. I don't want to die anytime soon. I mean, if I was threatened, I would fight for my life.
Yeah.
But I'm not so much afraid of that anymore. I think where I find myself fearful sometimes is for my family, for my kids. You know, I want them to be safe. You know, I fear losing loved ones, even though I know the other side is beautiful for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's just tough saying goodbye to some people, especially young people.
Yeah.
So I fear that. And then I guess for myself, Elvis, you know, I get afraid sometimes that I might come up short on my purpose and on my mission. And I believe my purpose is to support as many people as I can on this journey called life,
Yeah.
through my writing and through my podcast and just through my interaction with them. And, you know, that keeps me going. You know, it's not that I have all the answers, but my purpose is to present information to people from my own experience and from information that I gather, to present information to them to keep them strong and keep them vital and help them move through difficult times. And I always want to make sure I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not, then I'm just living and I'm not fully alive, as Danny Bader.
I can fully agree, and I can confirm that you are doing all that. And
Thank you, Elvis.
Really appreciate people being out there who do that, because life is not easy. Life is hard, and that's just what it is. Everybody goes through crises many a time during a lifetime, and having people out there understanding situations like that, offering help, empowering them, that's exactly what these kind of people need, and I'm truly grateful for that.
Yeah, you are too, my friend.
Do you have a happy place?
I have a couple happy places, I guess. My happiest place. What's that?
I hope it's not the pub.
Yeah, no, it's not the pub. It's not the pub. Although, you know, a cold beer. My other book, I think you and I talked about it. I got a couple, but it's I Met Jesus for a Miller Lite, and that's all fiction. And of course, you know, you being German, right, and living in the UK, we might say Miller Lite is like water, right? It's not a real ale. But no, it's not the pub. I do enjoy a happy place, being with people that I love, spending time with them. So my friends and my family, that really makes me happy. From a physical standpoint, I love the beach. I love the water. So if I can get out there on a paddleboard, you know, surfboard, I really like that. And nature, you know, I like the mountains and the desert.
Yeah.
Before COVID, I would travel oftentimes to Phoenix, Arizona, in the Scottsdale area.
Yeah.
I did some work with some Marriott, wonderful leaders from Marriott and Ritz-Carlton out there. And I really like the desert, very peaceful to get a hike in. So happy places with family. And then if I'm alone, you know, kind of outdoors.
I love it. For me, I'm a water baby. I don't mind the mountains. I used to live in Munich with my wife. My daughter was born there 2018. We just moved back to UK last year. I like it, but I have to say, for me, beach any day of the week.
Yeah, you like it too? That's cool.
Yeah, I do. I don't surf or I don't paddleboard. I just like to sit there, chill, sit in the sun, and relax.
Well, if you find yourself over here to the U.S. along the East Coast, we have a little place down in New Jersey, and we'll go down there. You and I'll get you on a paddleboard. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I bet. I love that. We have to do that.
Very peaceful. We see some dolphins coming by the board. You know, it's nice.
I've only been once to the US so far. I was in New York 2016 over the Christmas period. My wife always wanted to be in New York around then. We had lovely weather. We had like it was snowing. Central Park was white, and
that's beautiful.
Touristy places, and was absolutely amazing. We went to, I think it was Saks Fifth Avenue. They always, like in the evening, they have like a light show with the Kevin Home Alone tune. It was really
Right.
something different. I love the States, absolutely. I love the mentality as well there. In Europe, we're all a bit crouchy. In America, it's like so much positivity.
Yeah. Yeah, we
So,
do our best.
yeah, you're definitely exceeding by doing that. Uh, all right, let's get into the last couple of questions. I think we covered quite a lot in half an hour.
I think we have. Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. It's been great. And I trust that some listeners, in the audience, you get some ideas there, right? Not because Elvis and I are telling you what to do. We're all, like you said, we're all on the same journey.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling, just know that you're stronger than you're giving yourself credit for, and hold a little vision, and make sure you go get some help from your family, friends, or maybe some professional help if you need it. That's all.
Yeah, that's. I think that is like a really, really important message. If you are struggling with anything health related to the mind, ask for help. Don't let your head explode with it. Don't eat it in, because it will explode at one point, and it makes a hell of a mess. So
yeah, it does.
Just talk to people and get professional help. That's I think a message we should definitely send out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I'll have one question. I was asked yesterday on the Health, Fitness and Lifestyle show with Gav and Luke, and I absolutely loved that question so much that I stole it, and I will ask you that question today as well. And there was, you're hosting a dinner party, and you're allowed 5 famous people from throughout any time this world has existed. Who's Danny Bader dining with?
So I'm having a party at my house, and I'm having 5 people over. They just hang out and perhaps have a glass of wine or something. 5 people. So, I probably now, and it's just popping into my mind, I watched a movie on, I think it was on Netflix or somewhere out there, but it's called Harriet.
Yeah.
And it's about that woman, Harriet Tubman, who was a slave, born into slavery, and escaped, and then went back down, I think, on 13 other missions to bring 70 slaves from freedom. And this is in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So traveling by foot, 100 miles. So I think based on that story, it's a wonderful story. And anybody, if you can look at it, watch that one for resilience. So I'd probably have her. I love Abraham Lincoln. I think Abraham Lincoln, one of the presidents of the U.S. during the Civil War and during slavery, was a real strong man of faith. And he moved through a lot of personal challenges as well. Mother Teresa, I think, was just a great expression of love on this planet.
She was.
So I would have her. And, Socrates, what I read about Socrates.
It sounds
like chat with him about life a little bit. And then, of course, I would have Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus would, he'd be there as well. So I think that would be a pretty cool dinner party.
I'd
invite Elvis too. You can come over and help me out.
That was one of my answers yesterday. I said Elvis Presley. Obviously, I gotta have the king on board.
Elvis Presley. Yeah.
One other was Steven Tyler, the front man from Aerosmith.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, that's a great question. I mean, I'd love to, if you could expand that to 50 people.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could go a whole lot deeper with some musicians and things like that.
Yeah, I had to think on the spot, and I love their music. So, if you could step into my shoes today, did I miss something? Should I have asked you another question you would have been very happy to answer? Or?
No, I think we touched on a lot of them. It just, I guess the question we could phrase is when we talked about being alive, right, versus living.
Yeah.
But really, a lot of my work is around happiness and fulfillment, and happiness is in the moment, right? How are we happy? Yeah. And fulfillment is we're achieving outcomes throughout our life. We're achieving goals. So, a lot of times people will say, you write a lot about happiness and fulfillment. What do you think is key to that?
Yeah.
But we really covered it. It's that power, vision, and support. And, I would just encourage people, again, I maybe didn't make this point, but I know that there's a divine energy in all of us. And it's very important for us to connect with that as a human being in whatever way we do.
Yeah.
And this has, for me, I have religious practices. But for everybody, you may connect with God, you may call it, may call that something else.
Yeah.
Allah,
False
universal
energy.
consciousness, spirit, sure. But yeah, make sure you connect with that in some way, because that's ultimately our strongest source of support.
I totally agree. I only started about 2 years ago to meditate because my mind was always full with loads of different stuff, and was like stuff coming in, going out constantly. And to quiet my brain down, I started mindfulness, and I did a couple of meditation practices, and it helped me so much to slow down that I am 100% sure that something is out there, and something must have been created out of something. And I don't call it God, I don't call it Allah, I usually call it source energy. That works for me. But I think it's so important for people to hold on to something like that, because that's just like why we're here.
Yeah, so I heard a quote, that's perfect. I heard a quote, I forget who said it, but they said, you don't meditate to get good at meditation. You meditate to get good at life.
Yeah, totally.
And I thought that was a pretty good one. Yeah, certainly in meditation, in scientific, when they study the brains of meditators, people that go into a deep, I think it's called the parietal lobe. There's a part of our brain that connects with our self-image. And when people are meditating, they find that part of the brain goes dark. So our self-image is gone. So I believe it's the ability then that we're connected to something bigger. I'm not Danny Bader anymore. I'm part of something bigger. That's cool.
Yeah, to me, I meditate every night before I go bed, because I don't know if that's true, but apparently just before you go into the state of sleep, your brain soaks up everything you think of. So I'm doing a lot of gratitude and empathy meditations lately, and in the morning I wake up much happier and much more focused. And I don't know if it's that what helps, but for me it does, and that's as good as anything.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Great idea.
Where can our listeners find you?
So Elvis, I've got my website is dannybader.com. And then through the website, there's all links to the different social media platforms. I do put a lot of content on Facebook and on the YouTube channel, do an awful lot of videos. And then the books are all out on Amazon. So Back to Life is the story of my journey. And then I wrote another one called Abraham's Diner. It's a short little business fable. Might be good for any professional people that are feeling overwhelmed and stressed out with their work.
Yeah.
And then the third one, I Met Jesus for a Miller Lite. And that's the story of a young American football player in the National League that he gets knocked out of playing because of concussions. So his dream of playing got cut short. Now he's trying to figure out life, and there's some other friends and characters in there. So you can take a look at them on Amazon and see if they look interesting to you.
Yeah, I definitely will. My bookshelf is at the moment quite empty because I've gone through a couple of books. I have one book. I don't know if you know it, but have a look if you can find that.
What's it say? The things you can
see. The things you can see only when you slow down. And
oh no, I know. I'll have to grab that one.
It's written by a monk. It's called Hey Min Sunim, and
beautiful.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely. It's one of the best mindfulness books I think I've ever read, and I only read about, I read it about 6 times already, but I only read about 4 to 5 pages at a time, because it's so much information put into so little words, and it really helped me grow massively as well as a person.
Yeah, I'll get that one as soon as we get finished here. I'll grab that one off of Amazon.
Yeah, definitely. Danny, look, thank you so much. I truly appreciate that you took your time out of your busy schedule to have this chat with me. I know you have probably way more things on your mind than talking to a German bloke who sits in England.
I've enjoyed it.
Your honesties and your truths, they really made my day, and I'm sure it will make a lot of my listeners' days. Truly appreciate it, and very grateful for this conversation once again, and thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure, Elvis. Thank you for making this happen, and I wish you and your family health and all the best. And everybody else out there listening, thank you.
To the listeners, I will put all the book links from Danny and all his social media links into the show notes. You can find it on YouTube. I will put it out on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. I think it'll be on iTunes Radio as well. So we'll smash that conversation out wherever we can. And please make bloody sure you follow Danny, because he's a sensational human being, and you'll grow just by listening to his TEDx talks, or all of his podcast episodes you can find on YouTube and Spotify, wherever. Make sure you follow him. Thank you so much for listening today. Talk Motivation. My name is Elvis Eckert. I'm the host, and thank you again, Danny. See you soon.
My pleasure. Thanks, Elvis. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Talk Motivation with your host, Elvis Eckart. To listen to this episode again and to find previous episodes, search Talk Motivation on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts. Sayonara, muchachos!